Hey everybody, thank you all for joining me. Today I will be discussing an idea that has generally stayed largely out of our minds when it comes to the idea of local politics and the idea of voting for someone because of it: ecological sustainability. We all probably have an idea of this on a national level, involving the more recent push of the Green New Deal. We may think of transitioning from coal and oil to one of renewable resources, or maintaining the many square miles of national state parks and forests dependent upon federal protections. On an individual level, we may consider our carbon footprint, our flying habits, the way we eat, maybe transitioning to solar panels, and a lot of other ways to minimize our impact on this world. So you're probably wondering, how does this translate into a local setting? So here in New Braunfels, there is a branch of the local government that is tasked to deal with environmental sustainability. This includes services regarding animals, monitoring health and safety hazards, and ensuring environmental health and food safety. The Comal County Engineer's Office, for example, is tasked with reviewing and issuing permits for on-site sewage facilities and new developments, and for dealing with issues and complaints regarding things like public nuisances and litter. In addition to ensuring state regulations are followed, the Comal County Commissioners Court is responsible for enacting countywide policies in regards to issues including determining drainage ditches, irrigation districts, housing authorities, and they've passed recent resolutions regarding real estate regulations and public road development, the many specifics of which can be found on the Commissioners Court website. So I've talked with someone who spent years not only studying, but actively participating in this area, Colette Nies. Colette is a professional land and energy researcher and the owner of Colette von Hanna Energy. For over 20 years, she's focused on land and food justice, including experience in contracts, energy law, land negotiation, the food trade, identifying causes of poverty and food insecurity, and studying the effectiveness of social policies in the Texas House and Senate. Many of her white papers are actually in the National Archive in Washington, D.C. She holds a Master of Science and Social Work in Community Administrative Leadership from UT Austin, and a graduate portfolio in Nonprofit Management, also from UT, and a Master of Divinity in Ecological Theology and Pastoral Care from Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary. And she is also running for County Commissioner for Precinct 3 here in Comal County. So, being able to speak with someone with so much expertise and experience in the area, I asked Colette to tell me how she first got into the field of ecological sustainability, and to sort of explain to me more of what the idea of ecological sustainability means in a smaller town and what it means for Comal County.
I've never run for office before, but I've been involved in politics for about 20 years, just on serving on different boards and doing government relations, with usually revolving around social work issues such as the unhoused population, food insecurity, mental health care, aging in place, sex trafficking, issues like that. But I first began kind of really diving down into policy and research when I worked in around NAFTA and how the commodity crop industry with NAFTA in Chiapas really displaced indigenous tribes and promoted acts of torture. And that was the beginning of my political kind of journey. But it's only just recently, just this last December, that I decided to run for office, and it wasn't a highly thought out decision, to be honest, but I'm thankful I made that decision.
Yeah, okay. So you've shows that you've had a long history with dealing with issues like ecological sustainability. So here in Comal County, in smaller communities like this one, what does ecological sustainability mean?
Well, I think that you have to really look at the whole system. There's a lot of things that county and city governments can do, and it really depends on just I'll focus on Comal, but you really have to look at the county or community as a whole. Is it an agricultural community? Is it a mining industry? Do they get funding or most of their resources from tourism? Do they receive them from the solar industry? Is it farming or, what? So every county or city will have their own way of approaching sustainability, but specifically for Comal, you really need to look, because we're focused. You have two rivers that run through New Braunfels, and then you have Canyon Lake, and we have part of the Blanco, up north near Hayes, right, where the county line meets. About an eighth of our county is owned by the aggregate mining industry. So and we have the aquifer running through our county. And as you know, in Central Texas, water quality and water quantity is one of the primary factors and issues of our time, especially so the next 25 to 30 years. Whether or not, whatever your political spectrum, that is one of the primary issues on whether we can sustain life in this area in a way that promotes the ecological welfare of not only our inhabitants, as in like humanity, but as in the species that live here. And we have numerous endangered species that live here. And so for Comal, I believe, there's a lot of things that we could be doing to promote ecological sustainability that we are not. I think that there are a lot of great organizations here that are passionately working toward these issues. You have AgriLife, you have Texas Master Naturalists and Gardeners, and you have the Comal County Conservation Alliance, you have Hill Country Alliance, the Stop Vulcan Quarry. There's a lot of really educated and passionate people that have devoted their lives to these paramount issues in our area.
Just to reference, to specify some of the organizations that were mentioned, AgriLife is an organization that works to educate residents in agriculture, environmental stewardship, etc. Texas Master Naturalist is a volunteer program that participates in various community-based conservation efforts in the Hill Country, and the Comal County Conservation Alliance is a nonprofit corporation that works to preserve natural and unique areas in Comal County as development continues. So there are a lot of different local organizations that are heavily invested in maintaining sort of the Comal County that residents are familiar with and the ecology that comes along with it. I was also able to ask Colette, since she's running for County Commissioner for Precinct 3 here in Comal County, what a few of the issues are that she focuses on. So if elected, what sort of ecological issues would you prioritize, and what sort of things would you implement to try to combat some of these issues?
Well, by design, around 2015, the state has really undercut the local control for county governments. Kyle Biederman voted against local control. He is our state representative 73 for this area for Comal County. And so there has been a struggle. However, to just it seems like some of the commissioners have just kind of wiped their hands and say like, oh, there's nothing we can do. We don't have any power. No, there is a lot that you can do. For one, we need to create a conservation budget. You have to look 20, 30 years down the line. You look at a lot of the counties in Texas have a conservation budget, and you should. Preservation of land is paramount for mitigating the exponential growth that exists within our county. We're as of 2019, we're number 6. Hayes County is number 2 in the nation with growth, and setting aside money, whether that's used for conservation easement, whether it's doing the SEMA Ranch. I think that we need to start protecting the special places that are within Comal County, because they are drastically dwindling to overdevelopment. my opponent has had 8 years, and that they have not done it. We had a major conservation plan in 2010 that was done, and yet nothing has been done. And it's 10 years later. The mitigation credits have not been used.
Mitigation credits is essentially just the assurance that lands lost due to developing, especially in wetlands or areas by certain waterways like our Guadalupe and Comal rivers, will be compensated with the promise to conserve other areas within the community, essentially attempting to balance the scale.
We kind of need to start shifting, in my opinion, from a commodity industry, which is the aggregate conglomerate that is here that just buys land and buys land and buys land, and then doesn't remediate that land once they're done with it. We need to start investing in green infrastructure. That's one of the ways that county commissioners can kind of establish some sort of regulation over these municipal water districts, utility districts that are basically giving the developers a stranglehold on county government. So we can't outright say you have to do this. County commissioners can't outright say you have to do this to develop in these unincorporated areas. However, they can go in and say we can go through and speed up your permitting process if you design green infrastructure. And by green infrastructure, I mean, so instead of going in and overdeveloping, say if you have a 250-acre piece of property that you're developing into houses, instead of doing a bunch of 10th of an acre lots, house after house after house with the same tree in the front yard in the same space.
Yeah.
Then to go in and say you create 100-acre preserve in the middle that helps with stormwater management, and then you build around it. And so say you can't do lots under a certain amount of size. You can't do them under a quarter acre or an acre, whatever it is. And then build around it. So that would help with flood development. I mean, in the sense of when we are prone to floods. Yeah. So increasing our stormwater engineering, just being super up to date with that technology. That way that it absorbs the water when it comes in. Then you also have an area for native species. You don't have this wildlife management problem that we have right now with the deer. You protect the native species as well with not only your trees, your shrubs, your migrating birds, your butterflies, etc. But then when you look at it, most people want to live near an area that has a large piece of land for nature. I mean, that's it. It naturally makes the property values go up. And so instead of, having the county to constantly increase, our property taxes, even though we're having giant kind of mansions built next to us, let's look at what is this going to look like in 20 years. We need to really start looking at sustainable development and smart development when it comes to the power that developers have to kind of silence county government. So those are a few of the things that I would just begin to start to do.
So a lot of what Colette said in explaining what her platform is very individualized to our county. Some of it can be tied back almost to that idea of federal protection of land in preserving some areas for native species, but much of our platform is focused on conserving local ecological systems while at the same time finding manners in which to benefit us in some way, like the plans to manage the storm flooding that New Braunfels has tended to be prone to by encouraging green spaces in new developments, which there are many of in this fast-growing county, which at the same time will manage to conserve the spaces for other ecological aspects, like our Edwards Aquifer's capability to recharge. It really manages to show how one solution to one problem can have a wide plethora of different effects on the environment and can benefit many aspects of local ecological sustainability with just one small solution to a county-wide issue.
Okay, Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here, for sharing all of the knowledge that you have on these issues and
Yeah.
explaining part of your platform. So I just wanted to kind of conclude this with saying that we know this is a really kind of insecure time with all that's going on right now, and that campaigning has gotten significantly more difficult with kind of the local situation. So I just wanted to ask, what can we see in the future? What plans do you have for the future for the rest of your campaign? Is there anything we can look forward to, or?
I hope so. It has putting it's been a very interesting and kind of new time, I think, in
Mm-hmm.
campaigning, and
Yeah.
being that I'm, have never done it before. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I have been involved in other campaigns, but they were me running. uh, so it has been an interesting time for everyone, I
Mm-hmm.
think, in how do you mitigate or how do you have to negotiate. You can't have fundraisers, in together
Yeah.
fundraisers. You can't knock on the doors and kind of beat the pavement, so to speak, of registering people. You can't register people online technically in Texas still. So you can get something sent to your house. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that to kind of get people out to vote and to get to know you, and your message has been kind of shifted now to things that you're doing, very important things that I think that you're doing right now, which is kind of the using technology to kind of connect people in a time where we've been so isolated. It would anything that anyone could do that could help, even if it's time or helping me edit a video to helping me pass out things, but I would really appreciate it. I have my website is votecolette.com. It's VOTECOLETTE, or go to Instagram or Twitter. Those are my same handles, Vote Colette. Because I think just getting the message out there about my platform being about, this is about conservation. This is about the next 20 years.
So, thank y'all for joining me to explore some more about the idea of ecological sustainability within Comal County. And I'd like to extend a special thanks to Colette Nies for joining me and sharing her expertise and experience on this subject.